really matters? That might be the most important question you can ask. So let's talk about it. Welcome to What Really Matters podcast, Everyday Spirituality with Karen Wyatt, and thanks for joining me here today. If you're new to this podcast, you can go back and look at some of the previous episodes to get a better idea of what I'm talking about here. You'll find the 7 lessons, which I write about in my books, 7 Lessons for Living from the Dying and The Journey from Ego to Soul. I've done an episode on each one of those 7 lessons as well as an overview of all of them. And most recently, you'll find a series I did on what the ego needs to learn. So you can go back and listen to those if you're interested in that. Today, I'm going to share with you a tool that I've been using for years and years that has been really helpful for me. This tool is called the Fourfold Way from the teacher Angeles Arrien. And as I said, I found out about it years ago, and I've been using it all this time on an almost daily basis to help me analyze what's going on and also to really look at myself, my own behavior, and my choices, and to help me align my outer behavior with my inner values. So I'm going to go through these 4 aspects of the Fourfold Way with you. I'll read them to you first, and then we'll go back and go through each one at a time. And then I also want to show you how you can apply this model to anything, and I'm going to apply it to grief, being there for a friend or a loved one who is grieving. So the 4 items of the Fourfold Way are: number 1, show up; number 2, pay attention; number 3, tell the truth; and number 4, don't attach to the outcome. So let's look at each one of them at a time. First of all, show up. To me, this advice means that we have to be there, physically present, emotionally and mentally present, in order to take part in the events of our lives that are happening. So it means sometimes we have to go the extra mile in order to show up and be where we need to be. We have to be diligent about that. We have to be aware of what's happening around us, of what expectations there are around us, also of what we need for ourselves and where we need to be at any given time. We won't always know for sure where we should be, where we need to show up, but we have to always have the willingness and the intention to show up when it's time for us to be there, to act in a certain way, to do something, to accomplish something. So I really think about this advice on days when I'm actually feeling a little bit lazy or feeling like I really just want to withdraw right now. I don't really want to attend this event. I don't really want to call my friend. I don't really want to do this work. I don't want to record this podcast, say. So I have to look at this idea of, am I showing up and how am I showing up? Am I showing up for my work? Am I showing up for the commitments that I've made? Am I showing up for the people I care about? Am I showing up for myself? So sometimes we have to prioritize all of those ways in which we show up. And if the fact is I'm exhausted or getting sick or I'm just burned out, maybe that's a time when first I show up for myself. I take a self-care day and I do something special that will help rejuvenate and nurture me so that I will be able to show up in those other ways later. But maybe I'm actually not feeling that bad. I'm just in a bad mood for one reason or another, and maybe I need a little nudge to help me shift my perspective, to get out of my funk so that I can get the work done that I've committed to, so that I can be there for someone I care about who might need me to show up for them. So if you think about it, showing up doesn't always mean the same thing. We show up in different ways, in different situations, for different people and for ourselves. So in each moment, we have to evaluate where am I being asked to show up right now, and what's the most important way for me to show up? So once again, showing up for ourselves is included on that list. And there are many of us, for many years, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that it was important to show up for myself at times. And I was really good about showing up for other people. But I would do that until I became exhausted and unable to actually offer anything to anyone else because I wore myself down. I've learned now, though, that I'm on the list too. So I have to be able to look at all of my priorities. Where is my energy needed the most right now? And what has the most value right now? If I take care of myself, maybe tomorrow I'll be able to fulfill all of those commitments and do a better job than if I ask myself to keep going today and show up for other people or other tasks right now when I'm already tired. But maybe I do have more I can give, and maybe I really did make a promise, and maybe the guilt I would feel and the negativity I would feel if I didn't live up to my promise would be worse for me than asking myself to keep going and to show up and to do what I said I would do. So it all takes a lot of self-awareness and self-evaluation and being able to sit with yourself and look at it. How am I showing up? And some of us might go through times in life that are rough patches when we may feel that we haven't shown up enough. Maybe we have been withdrawn, and maybe we feel we haven't really given as much as we could have to other people or other situations. And those are times when it's good to just sit with ourselves and ask why. Why is it that I haven't been able to show up? And what would help me show up in the future? And maybe the problem is making commitments that aren't in alignment, making commitments that aren't really what I'm here to do, that aren't really meant for me. And then I lose all of my passion for doing that work if it isn't really the right thing. So sometimes by looking at our unwillingness to show up, we might be able to discover where we've gotten off track or gone a little bit astray, and how we need to correct ourselves a little bit, correct our path in order to get back to a place where we feel passion about what we're doing every day. So keep in mind this idea of showing up and how important it is. And I'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to the grief topic, but I just want to say that sometimes the very first thing I tell people when they ask, how do I help my family member who's grieving? I say to them, just show up. Just be there. Be physically present with them. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to know what to do. You don't have to even have a plan for how you're going to behave. You just have to show up. So showing up is important. It's really important. If we want to get anything done, if we want to learn anything, if we want to grow, if we want our relationships to thrive, we have to be able to show up. We have to have enough self-discipline and self-awareness and passion in order to show up for the important parts of life. And once again, to show up for ourselves as well when we need that. So that's a great place to start, and to think about anything else I'm trying to do in life will never happen if I haven't yet learned how to truly show up, and show up as my whole self as much as possible. Not just arrive physically someplace, but be somewhere else mentally and emotionally, but show up as a whole person. Come in wholeheartedly, ready for action, ready to do whatever is asked of me. All hands on deck, and ready in every possible way to be there and to do whatever is needed, even if it's taking care of myself, showing up wholeheartedly for myself when that's what I need. So keep that in mind. Number one, show up. The second bit of advice is pay attention. And this goes hand in hand with showing up. Once you show up and you arrive and you're there, you need to be able to give your full attention to whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're involved in. So again, This speaks to the idea of presence and being able to be more than just physically present somewhere for an event, but being able to tune in and focus and give your attention to whatever is happening. So once again, it might be your work, it might be a relationship, it might be a promise you made to someone, it might be doing self-care and taking care of yourself and nurturing yourself. But it's important to pay attention. Be able to tune in to your own body and your own emotions and your senses and what they're telling you in the moment. Be able to tune in to the other people around you and have a sense of what's happening for them. What are they asking of you? Why did they need you to show up in that moment? And what might you be able to offer that could be helpful to them? And tune in to your work as well. Right now, what's the most important thing that you could focus on in your work? The better you get at focusing, the more productive and efficient you'll be in every area of your life. And this involves really practicing this idea of keeping your mind and your emotions in the present moment, not allowing yourself to be distracted by the past or the future, but staying right here in this moment where you are doing whatever it is you're doing right now, which happens to be listening to a podcast. So as much as we talk about and value the idea of multitasking in our society, it's not really the best way to get things done. You may be able to get a greater quantity of things done by multitasking, but the quality is likely to suffer, as is your enjoyment and the gratification you receive from doing each task if you lump too many of them together at once. It's not possible to pay attention to several tasks at one time, and the greater attention we can pay to what we're doing, the more fully we're there, the better we will perform that task and the more quickly as well. And we can then move on to the next task when that's done. So once we learn how to show up, the next step is to remember to just pay attention, tune in, be present, bring your focus into this moment. That's how you're going to offer what is needed to the moment, to the person you're with, to the job you're doing, and to yourself to have the greatest impact that's needed in that moment. So when you're in a situation, if you find, ugh, I don't want to be here, I don't feel good about it, you might recognize I'm not able to pay attention right now. I know I should, but I don't feel like paying attention. I'm not clicking. This doesn't resonate with me. That's another good thing to sit with and analyze for yourself. Why is it that this doesn't resonate? You might discover once again, like I'm showing up for something that isn't quite the right thing for me. It's not really in alignment with me, who I am, and what I came here to do. When you find that you can't pay attention, that's a warning sign sometimes that maybe you need to look deeper and see if there's another reason why. Again, maybe what you've committed to is out of alignment, or maybe there's some sort of a shadow or a wound within you that is speaking up at that moment saying, don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to me. So this all takes the ability to be self-reflective, to sit with yourself and analyze what's happening with me right now and where did this come from and why is it here? Again, I'll mention, as I often do, it's really important to have a journaling practice where you write in your journal every day. And if you discover through your journaling, I'm really struggling to be fully present with the work I'm doing, that's a great thing to watch and observe and analyze over time and to decide, do I just need to be more diligent about practicing presence? Do I need to do some mindfulness meditation and learn how to keep my thoughts in the present moment? Do I need more exercise? Am I bored? Do I need other tasks? Do I need other friends? Maybe you'll figure out some changes that you need to make that can help you show up better and pay attention once you do show up. So those are our first two tasks. The third is tell the truth. Sometimes this might be one of the hardest tasks of all that we have to complete. Once we've shown up and we're paying attention, it's important that we be authentic and be our true selves in that moment. It's important to be able to speak the truth, to have the courage to speak the truth in any given moment. And it's important to be honest with ourselves. So that self-reflection I was talking about before requires a great deal of honesty. We have to be able to look at what's really happening with ourselves and be able to analyze, am I in alignment? Is this where I want to be and need to be? Is this the right thing for me? And what could I work on or change or fix in order to come into better resonance with how I'm spending my time? And that takes honesty with ourselves, the courage of being able to honestly look at ourselves and how we're spending our time. But also, this advice applies to how we relate to other people. As I mentioned before, being authentic, being our true selves, telling someone who we really are and what we really care about in the moment. And maybe it means speaking a hard truth at times, saying something that's difficult or challenging in our relationship, something we're a little bit afraid to say, something the other person might be afraid to hear. Now, this advice takes some wisdom about it because there are times when it's not the right time to be fully, completely honest with another person, to tell them everything you're thinking, everything you're feeling, everything that's going on within you. It takes some discernment in order to know how much to reveal at any given time, because too much information can be damaging to another person. So sometimes you have to decide, how do I say what it is I need to say, and make sure that it's kind. It's true, but it's also kind, and make sure that it's also the right thing and the most important thing to say right now. So the advice doesn't mean that you blurt out whatever you're thinking in the moment. You do use judgment and discernment and wisdom and compassion from your heart in order to decide, when and how do I share this truth with another person? But the important thing is, when you evaluate what you're talking about or saying to another person, you feel within you that it's in perfect alignment with your values and your own truth. You are not saying something just to please another person. You're not saying something in order to cover up or hide or manipulate another person. You're speaking what is true from your heart. I have found, and I believe, that telling the truth, it's so important for us coming to a place where we can have integrity all of the time, but it's an ongoing, ever-present task to hold ourselves to, because many times we've learned through our society ways to tell little lies. We tell lies to ourselves all the time. When there's something that we don't really want to face or look at, we might make excuses, and we might make up a little story for ourselves that makes it easier for us to move past that truth and not really deal with it and accept it. And we do that when we're talking to other people. We sometimes make up white lies because it's easier than telling someone the truth might be. So it isn't something that we achieve very quickly. We set our sights on, can I tell the truth as much as possible? And I think one of the ways we can address it, Carolyn Mace recommends this, that in your journaling, you actually sit down at the end of the day and look at, where did I lie today? And who did I lie to? And so that you start to analyze your own lying, you become pretty honest with yourself about when you might tell lies. But you look at that with compassion, like, why did I say it that way? Why did I need to tell that person that? Or why did I need to not tell them something that I was hiding inside? Why was I afraid to share that truth with that person? And you begin to analyze it with great compassion for yourself, not with judgment and shame, but with compassion and a true desire to grow, a true desire to be in a place where you can share what is true for you. with courage and with confidence, and you can believe in yourself enough that you're able to be in that place of integrity all the time. So this is painful work, but if you do it on a daily basis and begin to look at, maybe all you can do is look at one lie a day in your journal. Like, what lie did I tell today that I need to look at? And you stop and really tell yourself the truth. I did lie about that. What I said to that person wasn't exactly the truth. And then try to understand why. The moment you have that insight into yourself, you start changing the wounds that cause you to lie. You start healing them, and you start creating more and more integrity and wholeness within yourself, which helps you be more truthful the next time. So doing just a tiny bit of this work every day actually makes an impact, and you'll find yourself growing because of it. So we move on to the fourth bit of advice, also one of the most important things that I have ever learned or grappled with, which is don't attach to the outcome. Now, for me as a doctor, I had an issue for a long time of wanting a positive outcome for my patients from whatever work I did. That seems natural, of course. You're a doctor to try to help people. So, of course, I wanted to always be able to see the outcome, that I made a difference. I did something that helped. This person got better. And what I discovered over time is that I was too attached to the idea that I was somehow going to fix other people and then enjoy witnessing that and seeing that. And when I started to uncover those attachments, I had to completely separate my work from the idea that I would ever even see the outcome. I had to tell myself, I do this work and I don't know what will come from it. And I maybe not even meant to know. I help people because I know that's the right thing for me to do. I do my best. Did it work? Did it make a difference? Did they feel better? Did they change? I may never find out. And it has to be okay to not find out. Because what if I did something to help someone today and I get the feedback that it wasn't really beneficial, it didn't make any difference? What if on that day I feel discouraged, like, wow, I did my best. I showed up, I paid attention, I was there for that person, and it didn't do anything? If I'm attached to the idea that I'm supposed to do something, I'm supposed to change and fix people, then my attachments would make me start to feel discouraged, like, wait, I'm failing at this job that I decided to do. I'm not doing it right because I didn't fix that person. When in reality, it's possible that whatever work I did with that person, whatever message I was there to give to them, is something for the future, is something that hasn't manifested yet. It might be a year or two later that that person recalls the encounter we had and that it makes a difference for them. But I will never know that. I will never hear about that. And so I can't be attached to any certain outcome. I have to accept I may wholeheartedly do this work to the best of my ability and never know if it did anything good or not, never know if it made a difference. And if I don't know, it's still okay. I'm not going to give up doing the work. I'm not going to stop, even if I don't hear what the outcome is. So what I learned is that when we are attached to a certain outcome, it changes the way we do the work, because we do the work we're doing with the intention of trying to control the situation, trying to make something happen that we in our minds think is the right thing. And the more we're trying to control the interaction we're having, and the more we're trying to create a certain outcome, the less integrity we have, the less authentic and honest we could be, because we become manipulative. We're trying to make something happen and make change happen for another person that may not be the right thing for them. So in order to fulfill this idea of not attaching to an outcome, we have to surrender the work that we do and know, I know I'm doing this. I know I'm doing the best I can, and it felt right to me. And if I don't ever see a positive outcome from it, That's okay. I wasn't meant to see that in that moment. I will continue doing my work. That's what I know is the right thing for me to do. I can't know what is right or best for the other person, and I may not always be able to see that outcome. So this changed everything for me when I suddenly learned how to be with patients in this space of compassion and love for them and expect nothing. Simply be there and be present with whatever I had to offer and allow that to be enough gratification for me and not need to have the patient have a certain change in their lives in order to fulfill me, in order to make me feel good about what I was doing, to not ask that of the patient. And what actually happened is I began to see many more positive outcomes once I did let go of trying to control the outcome, except oftentimes the changes that happened were not what I had imagined might happen. They usually weren't necessarily what I thought, how I thought things would even unfold. They were completely surprising and serendipitous in many ways, and not what I would have imagined at all. And so that taught me and reinforced over and over again, don't attach to the outcome I can see because my vision is limited. I can't see what's right for this person. I don't know. And if I'm trying too hard to create what's in my head, I'm not honoring who they are. I'm not allowing them the space to become who they are meant to be and to grow in their own way. So this idea of not attaching to the outcome is so, so important. It's the lesson of surrender, of course, on the one hand, but also impermanence in a way of saying, hey, maybe nothing's going to happen. Maybe my work falls apart and nothing makes a difference. I just know I was called to do it and I did it the best I could. And so I have found tremendous value in working every day to let go of the outcome and to be less and less attached as much as possible to the outcome of my work. Saying that, though, I think about how in almost every one of my other podcast episodes for End of Life University, I always say, oh, thank you for donating to my Patreon account because that lets me know that you like what I'm doing. And that's kind of being attached to finding out the information, finding out that I'm doing a good job and you like that. So I need to work on that a little bit more and let go of my attachment to that as an outcome. So I mentioned that these 4 lessons that can be applied anywhere in your life, and I wanted to just briefly go through an example of working with, say, a loved one who is grieving, and how could you use these 4 lessons to show you how to be with that person. And the first, as I mentioned already, is just to show up. The most important thing you can do in the beginning is have the courage to be there, to go to the person, to say, I'm here for you, and do your best. Be there and be present. And the second, pay attention, which means tune in, listen to what the person is saying, read their body language, find out what they're trying to tell you. You know, they might be saying to you, I don't need your help. I need to be alone right now. Pay attention to that. Listen to that. Step away when they ask you to, but come back when in the future when they may need you back again. Show up again the next time and see where they are and listen to what they're telling you. Pay attention. Tell the truth to yourself. Now, this is a tricky one, as I mentioned before, because we have to use compassion and discernment, but when you're telling the truth to the loved one that you're trying to support through grief, maybe the truth is, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know what you need from me right now. Even to say, I'm feeling a little bit lost. I'm not sure what to do. That's the truth. And it's perfectly okay to tell that truth in that moment. And so I think telling the truth doesn't mean that you confront the other person and say, hey, you have to accept the fact that your father died of cancer because he smoked cigarettes. You have to accept that. No, that's not what I'm talking about telling the truth. It's being willing to tell the truth about the fact that you don't have answers, you don't know what to offer them. You've just shown up and you're paying attention and you're trying to be there for them. And so tell the truth to yourself about that, about the fact that maybe you're a little uncomfortable. Maybe you wish that you didn't need to be there for that person in the moment, but you at the same time know that showing up was the right thing, even though you're uncomfortable. So that's how I think you tell the truth in that situation. And then the last one, don't attach to the outcome. Don't expect anything from the person that you're there to support. Don't have an outcome in mind like, oh, I'm here, so I hope they're grateful. I hope they feel better. I hope I make a difference. I hope I can maybe brighten up their day and help them feel better and help them get through their grief better. Those are outcomes that might lead you astray a little bit and put you in that mode of trying to control things rather than just paying attention and tuning in the moment and listening to the other person. So don't have expectations. Don't attach to any particular outcome. You're showing up and you're paying attention because it's the right thing to do in that situation. And you know that in your heart. And from there, you're just going to take it one step at a time, one moment of the time, and you're going to tell the truth. I don't know what to do. I'm not sure how to help. I just knew that I should be here right now. That's all you need to say. So again, do not be attached to any particular outcome. Your mind might imagine outcomes and think, oh, it'd be great if I could see that this person is feeling so much better after my visit. You will think those thoughts and you will have those desires and wishes that you could make a difference for that person. But then you have to take yourself by the hand and say, however, I don't have control over any of that. That's not something I can necessarily make happen. I just need to let go of that. I just need to focus on showing up and being present and paying attention in this moment. That's all I need to do right now. No attachments to any outcome. When we're attached to an outcome, we unknowingly place energetic burdens on the person we're trying to help, and they feel it from us. They feel it as if I'm supposed to be happier now so you will feel good about yourself. I'm supposed to do something to help you when I'm the one who's grieving and suffering. So don't forget that. Show up, pay attention, tell the truth, and don't attach to the outcome. I hope these 4 bits of advice from Angeles Arrien are helpful to you like they have been to me. Come back next week. I'll have another episode for you. And until then, remember that we're here for love. So face your fear, be ready for whatever happens next, and love each and every moment of your precious life. Bye-bye.